When Admiral Charles Brown, Chief of Staff of the U.S. Air Force, stared at the fleeting trails of the J-50 on his radar screen, what really kept him up at night was not the Mach 5.5 supercruise or the pinpoint-sized radar reflective cross-section, but rather the horrific ability of China's aerospace industry to mass-produce state-of-the-art fighters at the iterative pace of consumer electronics. December 2024 and December 2024, the Changfei J-50 Shadow and the Shenfei J-36 Xuanlong made their maiden flights within 96 hours of each other, like a ballet of two planes breaking through the night sky. At this time, the U.S. Boeing's F-47 program is still mired in the PPT quagmire, optimistically estimated that the first flight will have to wait until after 2030. This 3 to 5 years of time gap for the iteration of the warplanes is almost a generational difference in the crushing enough for China to polish the production line of the 6th-generation plane. The U.S. aerospace industry is facing a systemic crisis. The U.S. aerospace industry is facing a systemic crisis. Lockheed Martin has utilized factories in the U.S., Italy, and Japan, and the annual production of F-35s has barely reached the theoretical ceiling of 150 aircraft. But due to the Technology Renewal 3 software issue, the U.S. military has suspended the receipt of new aircraft since July 2023, resulting in more than 100 brand new F-35s backlogged in the factory, some of which have been parked in the open air for more than 10 months. Even if the Tier 3 issue is resolved, it will take at least a year to clear the backlog. More serious is that the delivery delay has impacted the global allies. Denmark received only 10, forced to study the lease of second-hand fighters to fill the gap in combat power. Japan's order of 105, delivered only 40. The first batch of Tier 3 version of the F-35B delivery may be delayed. Deducting the share of allies diverted, the U.S. military's actual annual receipt of only 100 aircraft. Other models are also weak. F-15X, although Boeing reformed the production line, declared the end of 2026 target monthly production of 2, but the actual annual production in 2025 is still in the single digits. F-16 annual production of 40 exported, F-18 annual production of only more than 20. The total annual production of the U.S. main combat aircraft is locked at the 220-unit threshold. On the contrary, China's production capacity system is highly efficient and closed-loop. J-20 pulsating production line realizes 3-day key assembly cycle with an annual output of 50 to 70 aircraft. J-16 bomb truck has an annual production capacity of 100 aircraft. J-10C light aircraft has an annual production capacity of 40 aircraft. The annual production of only 3 main forces exceeds the total of the United States, and 100% of them are injected into the PLA. This kind of centralized investment of fertilizer and water flowing into outsiders' fields makes the speed of China's Air Force replacement reach more than 2 times of the U.S. Army. More critical is that China's production system has no external dependence, while the U.S. F-35 due to the rare earth supply choke point. China's export policy adjustments have been due to a 14-month suspension of production. The 6th-generation aircraft mass production is facing the same risk. U.S. 6th-generation aircraft GAD positioning, penetrating air-to-air fighter. The design is complex and cost out of control. According to the internal assessment of the U.S. Air Force, its total demand is only 200 to 1,000. If 1,000 aircraft are in service for 40 years, the average annual production is only 25 aircraft. If the budget is tightened, single-digit production is not a threat. Its noble aircraft attribute inherently locks the capacity ceiling. More fatal is that, in order to prioritize the protection of F-47 research and development, the Trump administration has intercepted the Navy F/A-XX shipboard 6th-generation aircraft project of $500 million in budget, resulting in the Navy was forced to use the F-35C retrofitted with a conformal tanks to survive, exposing the military species of the persistent problem of internal friction. China relies on the advantages of the whole industry chain to open the dual-track saturation strike. Shenfei J-36 modular design and automated assembly. The target cost of a single machine, compressed to $120 million. Changfei pulsating production line to complete the key assembly of J-20 in 3 days. Zifa WS-15 improved engine life exceeded 8,000 hours, surpassing the US 2,000 hours of similar products. The lifespan of WS-15 improved engine has exceeded 8,000 hours, surpassing that of similar products in the United States by 2,000 hours. In terms of production capacity layout, Changfei and Shenfei are advancing in parallel, with Shenyang's new super factory targeting an annual production capacity of 200 frames, and Chengdu's introduction of the image recognition quality inspection system shortening the development cycle of parts by 30%. Talent dividend more generation difference. The United States is caught in a shortage of 500,000 senior technicians, while China's 6 million engineers trained in the past decade continue to inject intelligent factories. The F-47's estimated unit cost of $300 million is only the starting point, with reference to the F-35 from $50 million, soared to $80 million, F-22 up to $350 million, cost black hole tradition, combined with the 6th-generation aircraft omnidirectional stealth, quantum communication, laser weapons and other technological complexity, the actual unit price is afraid of exceeding $500 million. On the contrary, China has realized cost magic through civil-military integration. J-50 plasma stealth coating is transferred to electric vehicle battery heat dissipation, thinning the R&D cost. 6th-generation aircraft air combat algorithms to optimize logistics scheduling, saving 30% of transportation costs. 3D printing titanium alloy components to reduce weight by 40%. The RAND report confirms that the cost of China's high-end warplanes is only 50 to 60% of that of the United States. When the US military exhausted its financial resources to buy a dozen expensive F-47, the PLA can install dozens, or even hundreds of 6th-generation aircraft at the same cost. The swarm effect will drown out any single technical advantage. 6th-generation aircraft war has long been beyond the performance of a single aircraft. J-36, Xuanlong, quantum computing assisted decision-making system can scan 1,000 targets in 0.1 seconds, commanding 48 loyal wingmen, unmanned aircraft swarming combat, and the US military GAD supporting the Advanced Combat Management System has repeatedly collapsed in the test. F-22 and F-35 so far cannot be used. -22 and F-35 so far cannot interoperate with the data chain, was satirized as Stone Age operation. Deeper gap in the efficiency of technology transformation. China will be 6 generations of ultra-high-speed data chain technology to give birth to a new 5G, 6G standard. Stealth material patents to feed the civilian electromagnetic shielding industry. Technology gains to cover half of the R&D costs. The United States in 2025 on AI, quantum and other enabling technologies. Defense investment increase of less than 2%, far below the level of inflation. In the face of capacity constraints, the US military attempted to, loyal wingmen, remedy, plans to purchase 2,000 XQ-5A drones in 5 years, as a manned aircraft auxiliary node. However, the maximum speed of this type of drone is only 0.85 Mach, cannot accompany the Mach 5.5 supertraveling 6th-generation aircraft combat. The essence is to cope with the decommissioning of the 4th-generation aircraft of the stopgap measure. What's more ironic is that the first round of testing of its artificial intelligence flight control system will only be completed in 2025, making it a long way from being deployed in combat. The production capacity imbalance is reshaping the strategic balance in the Asia-Pacific. The J-36 has a maximum takeoff weight of 62 tons and a combat radius of 3,500 kilometers covering Guam. Its deployment has forced the Kadena base to urgently remodel its airframes, and 60% of F-22s have been evacuated to Guam. RAND Corporation 2025 military push shows, if the Taiwan Strait conflict J-36 in the war, the US military loss rate will soar from 42% to 79%, directly triggering the US military academia, abandon the first island chain proposal. At the same time, the US allies in the Asia-Pacific due to the delayed delivery of F-35 into a combat vacuum. Australia's last 9 F-35 delayed service for 1 year. Japan's 42 F-35B delivery is pending. South Korea, although an additional order of 20, but the Cheongju maintenance base in 2030 to independently safeguard the fleet. Admiral Brown's concerns are really a declaration of the collapse of the logic of industrial civilization. When the US military-industrial complex, in congressional hearings to debate the budget allocation, Shenyang's robotic arm is welding J-36 titanium alloy skeleton, Chengdu laser cutting machine to 0.01 mm precision milling J-50 skin, Xi'an test bed came WS-15 sustained roar. These round-the-clock industrial symphony is to qualified quality control. The frequency of the fall of the seal declares the ownership of the future right to control airspace. Looking back at the awe with which Chinese engineers dismantled the first Su-27 in 1999, the advantage of the whole industrial chain has now changed the master of writing the rules of the sky. The ultimate revelation of this competition is when the first shot of the war has not yet been fired. The victory or defeat has already been predetermined in the feeding speed of the machine tool and the flickering frequency of the welding sparks.